Uh-oh, guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody? Julie, hey, guess what day it is? Oh, come on, I know you can hear me. Mike. What day is it, Mike? Leslie, guess what today is?
It's Humpday.
Woohoo is right, because we've made it to another Wednesday.
Woohoo! Yeah, we gotta get Julie in here one time.
Yeah, right? That would be good.
That would
she's
be
available.
so much fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
We'll get a hold of those guys and
Yeah.
see. Either her or the camel. We'll take one or the other.
I'd love to visit with a guy who is the voice of the camel.
It would
He
be
has
funny.
got to be a trip without the luggage.
Yeah, I think so.
Man. So how have you been?
Not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad. Had a good holiday weekend.
Good,
3 days off is always good.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. Played a little golf. Played down at Eagle Trace down in west end of Fort Lauderdale, where they actually had the Honda there for a couple of years. I forgot how much water was on that golf course when I went down there for the Honda once. There's a lot of water on that golf course.
And did you find some of it?
I found a few of them. Yeah. Had to pay homage to the golf gods and donate a couple of golf balls that got tired of sitting in the heat of the fairway, and they went,
Right.
you know what, that swimming pool over there looks
Yeah.
really nice.
Nice, cool, and inviting.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, that ball didn't want to play anymore.
Yikes.
We'll find another one.
Ruh-roh.
Yeah. Well, if you remember late last year, Kevin won his second PGA Tour event.
Mm-hmm.
It had been 7 years since he won his first event.
Yes.
Third one, he didn't have to wait quite so long. He won the Charles Schwab Challenge on Sunday. Finished 4 shots clear of Tony Finau at Colonial Country Club in Fort Worth, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see, between his second and third, he didn't even have to wait 6 months, or about 6 months. So not too shabby. He's definitely
Picking up the pace.
Definitely picking up the pace.
Yeah.
Exactly. It was fun to watch. It was fun to watch that event. I enjoyed it. Colonial is one of those courses that the guys that hit it really, really long don't quite have that much of an advantage there, because a lot of trees, some rough, had things grown up, and we'll see.
Very
So,
good. Now, do
so
they play
congratulations to Kevin.
Do they play a little bit of this music for him?
I would hope so.
When he left the golf course.
Yeah, as you saw the taillights of his car going down the driveway. Yeah, put the trophy out the sunroof.
Right? I love it. Right?
Yep.
I think so.
Yeah, I follow Kevin on Instagram. He's a lot of fun to watch. He's a lot of fun to follow, and
That's great.
I'm pleased that he won. His daughter is just absolutely adorable, and she was there. The family was there, so it was nice to watch him and his family celebrate. And hey, he's been close. The last couple of years, he's been really, really close in some tournaments. So he
Good
won
for
one, and now he's won his third. So
he's dialed in now.
so he's getting up there.
Yeah.
Might even qualify for the President's Cup team now. So that would be good.
Wow.
That would be good. So congratulations, Kevin. Colonial Country Club in Fort Worth, Texas. Man, I wonder how hot and humid it was there.
How hot was it?
I don't know. But some other guys, played well out there. Jordan Spieth seems to have found. He made, God, what was it on Friday? He made 2 putts outside 45 feet. And then he turns around and he misses a couple of 3-footers. It's like, what the heck?
Wow.
It's like, it all comes out in the wash. It's like, okay, you made a couple you shouldn't have made, and you missed a couple you should have made. So you pretty much, as Bill Parcells once said, you are what your record says you are. You are what you are.
Yeah.
And that's pretty good. Pretty good. I mean, it's the home of Hogan's Alley up through there. So a couple of statues of Hogan around the golf course. So nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
But let's see. Some news, some local news. We reported earlier this year that Martin County Golf Course was going to be closing.
Yes.
They were supposed to close their original timeline. They were going to close sometime in May, and they were going to tear up. They were going to tear up the blue and the white course. They were going to turn that whole area that's encompassed by those two nines with a new clubhouse, a new bar and grill. They were going to build a new lighted driving range so people can go out there at night and hit balls and practice. And they were going to build a 9-hole like executive golf course.
Right.
Kind of get people. The idea is get them in there, get them hitting balls on the range, let them get the feel of the game. Then they can move over and play the executive course a little bit, and then graduate on and play the gold and blue, which are out in the back end by the airport. And they were going to close everything down. They were going to do some work on the blue and the gold course, mostly with regard to rebuilding all the cart paths. And I don't know whether their process got a little bit slower, but they have decided now that they're gonna push this off till November.
Wow.
So they're not going to close till November, which is interesting because
just in time for season.
Because originally they had planned to open shortly after the first
Yeah.
of the year and take advantage of the back end of the busy season. Well, part of the problem with that is trying to grow grass that time of year.
It's not.
Sometimes it's cold, sometimes it's hot, sometimes you don't get enough water, enough rain, and everything else.
right.
And it's kind of hard to grow grow grass in a dormant season. So they've decided now that they're going to push it to November, get a few more bids in on what they're going to do. And the plan now is they are not going to close the gold and the blue. They're going to remain open.
Oh.
They are going to do all the other things with regard to the new clubhouse, new grill, driving range, and the executive course. They're going to do all that. And once they're done with all that, then they're going to go in and they're going to start with money they have left over. Then they're going to start doing the cart paths and stuff on the gold and blue. This way, they're not shutting down entirely, which it makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, when I hear it, it's like, okay, you're cutting yourself off in some of your busy season, but you're still gonna have play. You're still gonna have a product to give people or for people
you're
to
offering
use.
some
So,
alternatives.
yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
so we shall see what happens with that.
Yeah.
They have
It's
they
an
have
ever
not,
evolving story.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
yeah, they have not selected an architect yet. They're still taking. I think they said by the end of June they will have selected a designer to design the course, the executive course that they're going to do. You know, they have some of their ideas are pretty set in stone, like, you know, where the clubhouse is going to go, what it's going to look like, the driving range and that sort of thing. But they want to let the golf course architect kind of use his vision. And once he or she presents that to then build that executive course. So
Cool.
we'll see how that goes. Should be interesting. I like the idea that they're not going to close entirely, so that's good.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people that play out there will like that. The sad part to me is that the golf course is going. I mean, the red and blue, or excuse me, the red and white nines out there are part of the Florida Historic Golf Trail, so they're going to be gone. So we're losing a pair of nines, or in essence a golf course that's been around since the 1920s.
Wow.
So it's kind of I feel a little melancholy about that. The nice part about those two nines was it was easy to walk. I mean, you just pull up in your car and you're right there at the first tee. You can walk 18 holes real easy. But due to new constrictions from the airport and everything else, they had to do this. So, but I think the ideas they had and what they're going to do is ultimately going to be better in the long run. It's just got to give them a little bit of time to get all this settled in and see where we wind up. So, if you want to play them before they bulldoze them, I guess would be the word for it. You've got till November now, so time's not running out quite so fast.
Good.
And they're still running their specials with during the week after 2 o'clock, it's $20, and you can play till dark if you want, or you get tired, or you run out of golf balls. One or the other. So,
All right.
and they're going to get a whole new fleet of golf carts, and it'll be good. It'll be it's a pretty ambitious project. I mean, everything I've heard is they're borrowing somewhere close to $5 million for all this renovation and building and everything else they're doing. So that's a lot of money.
The airport offered to purchase some of that land.
Yeah.
And I guess they turned that. Ultimately, that deal didn't happen.
And ultimately, that didn't happen.
They could have got a lot of their financing from that.
Yeah, but I don't know what they would have wound up with, had they done that too. I mean, it depends on where the airport wanted to expand and how much they were going to intrude on being able to use the other 2 nines that are out by the airport. I mean, none of the flight paths go over those 2 nines, which is why they were able to keep those.
Right.
But
yeah, they weren't going to change the flight. This was strictly for service buildings.
Okay.
So it was to me, it was a no-brainer.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, it depends on
Yeah.
How it would have impacted the blue and gold course, which are the courses they wanted to keep because they're the better nines of the 4 they have.
All right. We'll see.
We shall see.
Very good. All right.
So we're gonna take a break.
We are indeed.
Yay.
Yay. And we'll be right back. So stick with us. We have much more golf to cover.
We do?
We do.
Oh, okay.
We're finding it now.
We're looking for it as we speak.
A little This Day in History for you while you're getting ready for more golf news entertainment.
Golf.
And of course, in 1660, Charles II is restored to the English throne, succeeding the short-lived Commonwealth.
I remember it well.
Yes, 1660. And in 1721, South Carolina is formally incorporated as a royal colony of England. Okay, 1721 rather. 1790, Rhode Island becomes the last of the original 13 colonies to ratify the Constitution.
1790.
1790.
So it took them a few years to do
Took them a couple of years to kind of sort it out. And in 1848, Wisconsin, the dairy state became the 13th state. Or as they say in New Jersey, the 13th.
13th?
13th.
13th.
So, and here's an interesting, what do you think of when you think of Abraham Lincoln?
His hat.
Okay. All right.
I mean,
Right. What is he known for, right?
saving the Union.
Yeah. In 1849, Abraham Lincoln is given a patent for lifting vessels, was granted to Abraham Lincoln.
Interesting.
He was granted a patent in 1849 for lifting vessels.
Like vessels like ships?
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Davits, I guess they call them, right? The things that lift with things in and out of the water. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's intriguing. Interesting.
I thought that was a real interesting find.
That is kind of interesting.
Yeah. And for race car fans, in the year 1911, the Indianapolis 500 is run for the very first time.
Took a long time to run that race.
It did it? 1911?
I mean, you had two guys in the car. Your mechanic didn't sit in the pits and wait for you. He rode with you in the car.
Well, isn't
that's
handy?
The mechanic rode with him, with the driver, and was like, constantly,
like the engineer,
constantly tinkering and messing with things to keep the car running while they were
the oil pressure
while they were driving around.
How exciting is that?
That's pretty. That's kind of neat. Can you imagine taking somebody with you now?
You want me to do what? That's great.
I mean, now they're going, 230 miles an hour at some points around that track? I mean, I watched that on Sunday. That was insane. Yeah. Just how fast those guys go around that track.
Oof.
And
they have to have special fins and stuff to push the car down so it doesn't go airborne.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, the tires are important, but if you don't go fast enough, it's interesting that you can go around a corner faster than you can go around it. I mean, obviously you can go around it faster. Faster is a faster way around than slower, but you will stay on the track if you go around it faster than if you go slower, because the downforce generated by the wings keeps the car on the track better.
Right.
So you can go around the corners quicker than you could if you slowed way down.
and the angle has got to be insane. The angle of the track in the corners too.
Nothing like Daytona. I mean, Indy's pretty flat in the corners versus Daytona. Daytona's got that really steep banking. I know IndyCar several years ago tested at Daytona.
Yeah.
And the speeds were just crazy because the cars going around that banking, they didn't have to take their foot off the gas at all. They just put their foot on the throttle and just went. Wow. You were governed by how big your stones were.
Good night, Irene. Wow.
Oh man.
Good golly.
Well, they finished up the NCAA men's championship earlier today, and Stanford University. That's Tiger Woods' bunch.
Yeah.
They won that's their 9th men's title. So congratulations to them. Its 9th Division I title, and it's first since 2007. So they've had a bit of a dry spell, I guess. They won. They beat Texas in the final at Blessing Golf Club in Fayetteville, Arkansas. I always wondered about that. It's Arkansas and it's Kansas. So they're spelled the same way, except one of them has an AR in front of it.
Mhm.
So how can Arkansas be pronounced different than Kansas? I mean, shouldn't it be Kansas or should it be Arkansas?
Arkansas, yeah.
I mean, it should be one or the other,
Yeah.
shouldn't it? I would think.
Yeah. Well, why do we have Rio just north of Stewart?
Yeah.
And if you go into South America, it's
It's
Rio.
Rio, yeah.
Tomato.
Potato.
Yes.
Let's call the whole thing off.
I think so.
Well, alrighty.
Here you go. 1922 on this date while you're looking for the next. This is another sports related nugget. 1922, the U.S. Supreme Court rules organized baseball is not subject to antitrust laws.
Oh, I remember that.
Yes, you were there, right? Yeah.
Was there for that one too? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to get that. Daddy, tell me what it was like during the olden days.
Yeah. Hey, I can still remember black and white TV.
Sure.
I can remember my dad sitting there telling me, okay, go up to the TV and take the right antenna and kind of move it around. Okay, stop.
Rabbit ears are
go
making
back a little bit more. Yeah, are they?
They are making a comeback. Some people are actually getting better TV with rabbit ears because of the higher frequency that they're doing the
interesting.
Yeah, so over the airwaves. So that's pretty neat.
That's pretty cool. That's interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Well, Justin Rose, the Olympic gold medalist,
Yes,
has announced that his partnership with longtime caddy Mark Fulcher has come to an end.
Uh-oh.
Fulcher is taking an indefinite leave of absence to focus on his health. I guess carrying that 40-pound steam trunk of a golf bag around gets a little tiresome after a while. 11 years he's been on the bag for Justin Rose. Fulcher underwent heart surgery in January. Missed the first 4 months of 2019. Returned at the Masters to caddy for Rose, and he's just physically not able to do it yet. So he's taking an indefinite leave. Whether he will eventually come back on the bag, who knows? But I mean, here's a guy that was on Rose's bag when he won the 2013 U.S. Open. Was there in 2016 when he won the gold medal. Was on the bag last year when he won the FedEx Cup title and went to number 1 in the world ranking. So he's seen some pretty good golf from his boss.
Yeah.
So hopefully he'll get everything figured out and return to being able to caddy again.
Right.
If that's what he really wants. So that would be nice to do. Golf Digest announced their top 100 public golf courses in the United States, and Florida has 3 in the top 25.
Okay.
Take a wild guess what the number 1 public golf course is in Florida. It's interesting because when they say public, they're including resorts.
Yeah, so I'm thinking the Disney resort.
Actually, it's the Players course up at TPC where they play the Players with the Island Green. That's and I think that came in 11th place out of 100.
Wow.
The other 2 in the top 25 are both out at Streamsong, which is out in the middle of nowhere. It's in Bowling Green, Florida. I didn't even know we had a Bowling Green, Florida.
Yeah.
But they built this golf course. It was an old phosphate mine, and based on the environmental laws, the company had to return the area similar to what it looked like or similar to how it looked or the way it was before they started all their mining. And they figured the easiest way to do that was we'll just make a golf course out of it and we'll see if we can make some more money on this place this way. And that's what they did. And I have not been there yet, but everything I've heard from it or about it is that it's pretty impressive.
Wow.
It's pretty impressive. The number 1 public golf course in the United States of America is Pebble Beach.
Oh,
that was their number 1 ranked. Not surprised. However, I don't think much of the public can really afford to play there. I mean, you have to stay at the lodge in order to play. And last time,
what is the price of admission?
Yeah, last time I heard, it was upwards of $400 a round. Plus, you had to stay there, and this was several years ago. So what it's gone up to now, I don't know, but that's pretty steep.
Sky's the limit.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, the USGA is playing the United States Open there in just a few weeks. And Golf Digest interviewed anonymously some players on the tour. Let's see, they talked with 57 people involved in the game of golf. 35 were current players, with 16 major championships between them, along with caddies, coaches, analysts. And it's the relationship between the guys that play golf at the top level and the USGA, who runs all the amateur golf events and runs the rules of golf for the United States and Mexico.
Right.
They don't see eye to eye. And I've been someone that has complained a lot about the USGA. I don't like the way they set up the US Open. I'm all for a tough test of golf. I believe that in order to win the US Open, it shouldn't be easy.
Right.
But it shouldn't be over the top ridiculous the way it usually winds up being for the US Open. And, reading through some of this, some of the guys were basically like, I hope they don't do to Pebble Beach what they did last time. When they were there last, I believe it was in 2007, the 17th hole is a reasonably long par 3. And on the final day, it got so bad, the green got so hard and firm that only 7 players out of the entire field hit the green in regulation, which means they hit their tee shot and it stayed on the green. They had guys late in the round that I guess had gone out, or their caddies had gone out kind of scouting to see what was going on.
Right.
They were actually aiming for the front bunkers instead of trying to hit the green, because they knew the ball was not going to stay on the green. And rather than let it go over the back and into this deep rough, or if you hit it too far over the back, it would actually, if it weren't for the stands or the TV tower, it might go in the water.
Wow.
They were actually aiming for the front bunkers and hoping that, okay, goes in the front bunker, I might have a chance at par here. I can get up and down out of the bunker and maybe get a 3, or at worst get a 4. I'm sorry, but that's not golf to me.
No,
I mean, when you're basically setting up a hole where the players are not trying to hit the green because they don't have a chance, something's wrong. Last year, a lot of people remember last year when at Shinnecock, when Phil Mickelson had like a 10-foot putt on, I believe it was the 13th green, and he hit it. He barely breathed on it, and it rolled so fast and started to go went past the hole. It was actually going to go off the hole and partway down the fairway when he just walked up to it while it was rolling and hit it again, knocked it back towards the hole. It was kind of his way of saying, this is ridiculous.
I remember that. He got a lot of grief for that.
Yeah, that's how ridiculous this setup has gotten. And you talk about, and people always say, and I hear this a lot from a lot of my buddies, this, well, you know what, they all got to play the same golf course. They're all playing it. They all got it. Well, it wasn't necessarily the same golf course in the afternoon than it was in the morning.
That's true.
Because the average score for the guys finishing late versus the guys that started real early was 19 strokes higher. 19 strokes higher for the guys playing in the afternoon than it was for the guys playing in the morning. You can't tell me that the golf course was the same for both groups. It couldn't have been. That to me is that's not fair.
It's a leading indicator. Something's amiss.
Something is amiss.
Yes.
And there actually was talk last year from several of the guys that they were talking about just boycotting it.
Yeah.
We won't even go play. And, the USGA was like, okay, fine. You don't want to come play? Don't play. We'll still have it. But Do you want to watch a U.S. Open that doesn't have the top players in the game playing? I mean, I can watch my buddies shoot 100.
Right.
I don't want to watch, a U.S. Open where the winning score is like 20 over par.
Right.
That's not golf. That's not fun.
No.
And it's ultimately it is entertainment. And I don't know. They said that some of the guys they interviewed were, that are in the game, said that the USGA last year at Shinnecock, basically the superintendent of the golf course told them, warned them, said, you're going to have trouble in the afternoon if you don't get some water on this golf course. You need to water it overnight because stuff's going to die during the day tomorrow, and it's going to be unplayable in the afternoons. And the USGA didn't listen. Nope. Somebody went out and shot too good a round on Friday, and we can't have that. So we're going to basically hide the pins and firm everything up. And it's almost like these guys can't play golf with these guys. They're the guys at the USGA.
Right.
They're all very successful. They're all very rich, and they play golf, but they don't play golf. Like me, they don't play golf like the guys on tour.
Right.
You're never going to be that good. And it's almost like they feel like, you know what? We're going to make them shoot a score that we would have shot on a golf course.
They're going to just punish you. Yeah.
And this is what it's going to be. And it winds up being not much fun. I hope they don't do the same thing this year. I mean, last year, Sunday, they kind of they watered the golf course Saturday night, and they had some low scores on Sunday, which I don't know whether the USGA didn't like it or not, but that's what they wound up with. But at that point in time, they'd already screwed so much up. I mean, you had guys, the two guys that started, Tony Finau was in the final group. He was in 45th place out of 70 some golfers on Saturday. Went off early, played the golf course when it was still playable. Everybody that was ahead of him fell way back. I mean, here's the guy that was in 45th place and went all the way to the top of the leaderboard for Sunday's round because things just
went south.
Just went south so bad in the afternoon. I hope they don't do this to Pebble Beach. The problem with Pebble Beach is it's not a very long golf course.
No,
there's just not enough room anywhere anymore.
The landscape does not
to make it real long.
Yeah.
So ultimately, the defense is going to be really tough rough, really penal rough, and greens that are like hitting into your driveway,
right.
which
here we go.
To me, isn't fun.
No.
One of the comments from one of the guys was that a few years ago when they were playing and they lost the greens, they had portions of the greens were okay. They still looked green instead of brown. And when you hit a shot into a green, you'd have two guys standing side by side in the fairway, and they both hit the ball into the green, and one of them landed in a brown spot, and the ball kangaroo bounced over the back of the green and into the junk. And the other guy hit his. It landed in one of the green spots and didn't hold the green, but it spun backwards and went off the front.
Wow.
I mean, here's two guys hitting the shot, hitting basically the same club from the same distance, landing a few yards apart on the green. And you wind up with two completely different results, neither of which was any good. I mean, what do you want these guys to do? How are they supposed to play golf in this? So that's been one of my pet peeves with the USGA for many, many years.
Well, I have a feeling with the screen I'm looking at here is also a USGA course because we got a couple of guys around 15. Let's check in with them, see how they're doing.
Okay.
130 yards now. Bill's got a very tough lie here. Looks like we have some sort of sea monster in the water hazard here. I believe that's a kraken, Bruce. It looks like he's going to go with the 9-iron. That may not be enough club. Well, he's definitely going to lose a stroke on this hole.
And welcome back to the Wednesday Night Golf Show, the Hump Day edition on WSTU. Hump Day. WSTUTV.com. If you're out of the area and can't get us on your radio, you can listen anywhere on the planet. There might even be some Martians listening.
It
on
could
this.
be.
You never know.
We got the guys on the International Space Station. I understand are avid golfers, so
Hey,
they like to tune in.
there you go.
Well, you know.
There you go. But we're-
Speaking of avid golfers, how's our buddy Arlen doing?
Did not talk to him this week, but
Hopefully he's on the mend.
hopefully no
huh?
news is good news.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure Julie would have gotten a hold of me had anything come up.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
you know, maybe he's just busy. That'd be a good thing.
Yes, that would be a good thing. Busy is always good.
Yep. Some other comments from players with regard to the USGA and the United States Open, along with the setup. I know that one thing they said, the USGA signed a 12-year, $1.1 billion TV deal with Fox TV that began in 2015. USGA rights went from $37 million a year with NBC to $93 million a year with Fox.
Ah.
Big jump.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking what, $56 million more?
Yeah.
And they barely raise, then they only raised the purse by 10%. but their revenue more than doubled.
Wow.
Almost, pretty much almost tripled.
It's good if you can do it.
So that was another thing. And granted, that sounds kind of tacky on the players' parts because you're playing for a lot of money as it is.
Right.
But at the same time, where's all this money going? I mean, you're supposed to be a nonprofit organization that's there for the good of the game. And one of the things that everybody talks about in golf that I think the one thing that turns people off more than anything else on golf is how long it takes to play sometimes.
Yeah.
Some people just don't have, I mean, you think about it, from the time you leave your house, drive to the golf course, you try to get there half an hour maybe before you tee off. And then it takes you it should take you about 4 hours, but sometimes it takes you 4.5 to 5 hours to play. And you get done, you drive home. I mean, you've invested an entire day to play 18 holes of golf.
Right.
And like one of the guys commented, he says it's the greens that are killing it because they've made the greens so hard to putt on because they're so fast. In some of the places they put the pins that instead of being able to walk up to a 1 or 2 foot putt and just knock it in and move on, you've got to concentrate on it just like you did the shot you hit from 200 yards a few minutes ago.
Right.
You've got to mark it, go through your routine, figure out what it's going to do, and and then try to touch it or breathe on it a little bit to get it rolling. That's just nuts. They said that at Marion a few years back, there were fairway bunkers. Now, fairway bunkers are bunkers that are usually just on the side of the fairways to keep the ball from going, too far right or left or whatever, or kind of force you to take a different route around to play the hole. They said there were what are normally fairway bunkers were 20 yards into the rough because they made the fairway so narrow and grew the rough up so much that the bunkers were actually nowhere near where the fairway was, but yet it's still considered a fairway bunker.
Wow. That's nuts.
It's crazy. So like I said, the players like I do, they want tough, but they want fair.
Yeah.
And I understand that, I understand that weather can play a big part in it.
Right.
And weather changes. I mean, we know here, you play in the morning here, it's pretty still.
Right.
There's not a lot of breeze. In the afternoon, you get more breeze. So yeah, it stands to reason the course is going to play a little different or a little tougher in the afternoon because the wind is up.
Right.
But when you don't plan for that and the golf course dries out and becomes hard and too fast and unplayable, then it's to me it's not the same course for everybody. Then
Right.
I know one year when they played the U.S. Open at Bethpage, there was one hole that a couple of the players were talking about on the practice rounds. They couldn't, based on where they started the fairway off the tee, if you couldn't hit it 280 yards in the air, you couldn't get to the fairway.
Wow.
Now that to me, you're eliminating some guys from even having a chance because they can't hit it that far.
Right.
Well, how is that fair? I mean, now you've made guys that can't hit it to the fairway. So you literally had guys that were aiming where people were because they got a better lie over there than they would have gotten in the rough because they couldn't get it to the fairway. That's that doesn't do anything to me. But we'll see what happens. I mean, that's coming up here in a few weeks. One golf course designer said, I'd love to see what players would do on an 8,500-yard course where they'd have to hit long irons. He says, I wouldn't want to build it or play it, but for them, yeah, okay, let's give it a try.
Yeah.
I know that Johnny Miller designed Harmony over in St. Cloud between Melbourne and Kissimmee, on the east side of Kissimmee there. That golf course can be stretched out if they use some tees that were not built or were built. If they decide to use them, they can literally stretch that golf course out to 8,000 yards.
Wow.
And you're talking at sea level. Ball doesn't fly as far here because the air is heavier.
Right.
Between the humidity and being at sea level. It's not like you're playing, out in Vegas or you're playing, in Colorado where you're at altitude and the ball just goes a lot further. I couldn't imagine playing a golf course that's 8,000 yards long. I would not want to have.
No.
I would not want to have fun.
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. One guy says, they played Marion, which was a little over 7,000 yards. But he said they had a lot of par fours where guys were hitting irons and hybrids off the tee because they had 18-yard wide fairways. 18 yards. That's not very wide.
No, it seems pretty narrow to me. That's
like,
that's like narrower than a business storefront.
Yeah, I mean that's picture. Okay, go out. If you live on a street, a normal street.
Yeah.
Go out and tee the ball up and try to hit it, 250 yards or so, and keep it on the road, on the street, on your street.
Right.
And if it gets a little bit off to one side or the other, you're in rough that's a foot deep. That you'd be lucky if you could find your ball.
Wow.
Okay. But again, they all have to play it.
Right.
But at the same time, is that what you really signed up for? Is that what you really want to do, or you really want to play? I can see both sides, but it could be ugly. Like one player, former U.S. Open champion, he said the fairways at Chambers Bay were running the same speed as the greens. That's how hard and firm the fairways were. He says he missed a couple of greens by a foot, and the ball finished about 100 yards away.
Wow. Wow. That's 100 yards.
100 yards. I mean, I don't know if he's exaggerating, but that's wow. So Mike Davis, who's been setting up the golf courses for the USGA, has stepped down. He's no longer in charge of setting up the golf courses now. It's sort of there's like a
ad hoc committee.
There's like a committee, exactly.
Yeah.
A couple of tour players are on the bunch. We'll see what happens.
Maybe we'll get a better result.
I don't know. I don't. Like I said, I just the idea that first off they take a course that's usually a par 72, and they turn two of the par fives into long par fours. The USGA has this fascination with par being, their litmus test.
Right.
That's where they hang their bar at par.
Right.
And they want, no matter who's playing, no matter what conditions it is or what golf course they're playing, that's where they want the winning score to be. And they try to do something with the golf course to promote that to be the winning score.
Right.
Sometimes guys are just too darn good, and it happens.
Right.
You know, they're going to shoot a low round. Somebody shoots a 65. Like some guys say, they said we can pretty much count that on. And it's funny because, you know, some of them have mentioned, and I see it when I go down to the Honda, you know, for the practice rounds, they basically give you an idea of where the holes are going to be every day.
Right.
They pretty much know where they're going to put the pin placements every day. And they give you a sheet that basically shows you. So while you're playing your practice round, you can go up to these areas where the hole's going to be on Saturday or Sunday or Friday or whatever. And you can kind of hit some putts to get an idea what the ball's going to do around that area. Well, they said there's been days where on Thursday or Friday, someone out and shot a low score. And depending anywhere near where they said it was going to be on Saturday, now it's tucked over in a corner or it's on a hill or it's just, you know, it's almost like the greenskeeper had a really bad day or a really bad night and decided, I'm going to take this out on everybody.
Oh, yeah. Well, watch this.
Yeah. Oh, you think you're good? Here, take this, guys. so it's an interesting read if you wanna check into it. Let's see some other golf news. Let's see here. Michelle Wie has withdrawn from the women's U.S. Open. She's still nursing her wrist injury, so she will not be playing. And we got a caller, but they didn't want to talk to us.
Exactly.
It's probably one of those robocalls that I get 47 of a day.
I
You didn't want to wait to hear, hi, this is so-and-so on a recorded line.
When there's a pause and nobody's talking, then you know it's no good.
Yeah, I like to play with those guys sometimes. And it was pretty funny because, you know, I know it's a recording, but one time it wasn't a recording. And you know, I answered and I waited and it said, hi, this is so, how's your day? I said, well, I'm dancing naked in the street right now. And the person on the other end was a live person, because usually they go, oh, that's nice. You know, the recording has these canned responses. And it was a person on the other end. They go, well, I hope you're not going to get arrested. And I was like, oh crap, it's a real person. So that was
your cure, wasn't it?
That was a little different for me.
Won't do that again.
Yeah. Oh well. So, let's see. Florida Tech, just up the road here.
Mm-hmm.
The women's golf team was told in February that its program is going to be discontinued. They won the NCAA Women's Division II title. So how's that for a way out? You know?
Yeah.
We're disbanding the team. You guys are not going to have a team anymore at Florida Tech, which is, FIT up in Melbourne.
Right.
I spent my first year there and spent a lot of money there. In my first year of college, and so that's too bad. That's too bad that they're not going to have a women's golf team. I guess the men's team might still continue, but apparently the women are not. That's kind of sad.
Yeah,
that's kind of sad. This week we have the Memorial Tournament at Jack's Place up in Ohio. They've got a big fountain out in front of the entrance there where you go into the golf course area, into the clubhouse. Somebody decided to dump a box of laundry detergent into that. And if you've ever seen what that does with a fountain,
wow,
it basically makes like humongous foam.
Yes.
The whole entrance was covered with foam this morning, apparently.
Wow.
So somebody had a little bit of fun.
I guess so.
And Justin Thomas makes his return to the PGA Tour this week. He's going to be playing at the Memorial. As a lot of you know, he missed the Masters, he's been out since the Masters because of a wrist injury. So it'd be good to see him back. And we'll see what happens.
Yes.
Hey.
What do we got going on next week?
Oh, I have no idea.
Oh, really? No tournaments coming up?
Well, I mean, we got the Memorial coming up this week on the PGA Tour, and the ladies, the Women's U.S. Open's coming up. So,
all right.
we have
So we got things to cover for next week.
we got some stuff to talk about for
Yeah.
next week.
Good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And we'll talk to you then, folks. Have a great night.
Indeedy do.
Wrong hat.
I think a 7.5.
Now here's something we hope you'll really like.